Sammy Spider's first Hanukkah. Sammy Spider shivered in his web, high up on the Shapiro's living room ceiling. "Look, Mother," he called, "what is Mrs. Shapiro lighting?" "That's a menorah," answered Mrs. Spider. "The Shapiros are celebrating Hanukkah. They will light one more candle every night for 8 nights. "It's beautiful," said Sammy, as he lowered himself on a strand of webbing to take a closer look. "Be careful," warned Mrs. Spider. "Don't get too close." It was the first night of Hanukkah. Sammy stopped right above the shamash, the helper candle that Mrs. Shapiro had used to light the first candle. "Mother, the flame feels so good on my cold feet," Sammy said. Mr. Shapiro reached into his pocket and handed Josh a bright blue dreidel. Sammy hovered above the flame and listened as Mrs. Shapiro told Josh the story of the Maccabees and the miracle of the oil. The smell of frying potato latkes filled the room. Josh gave the dreidel a spin and squealed with delight. It was spinning so fast that Sammy felt a little dizzy watching from above. When the candles had melted and the flames flickered out, the Shapiros announced bedtime and took Josh upstairs. "It's your bedtime too, Sammy," called Mrs. Spider. Sammy climbed the strand of silk webbing and crawled into a cozy corner. Mrs. Spider gently tucked him in. "Mother," asked Sammy, "do you think I could have a blue dreidel to spin?" "Silly little Sammy," his mother laughed. "Spiders don't spin dreidels. Spiders spin webs." On the second night of Hanukkah, Sammy watched expectantly as Mrs. Shapiro helped Josh light 2 candles. His feet were cold and he wanted to warm them near the flame again. Tonight, Mr. Shapiro gave Josh a bright red dreidel. Now he had 2 to spin. Everyone sang Hanukkah songs and ate donuts filled with sweet red cherry filling. The spinning dreidels made Sammy even dizzier. That night, when Mrs. Spider tucked Sammy into his soft web, he asked, "Mother, do you think I could have a red dreidel to spin?" "Silly little Sammy," his mother answered. "Spiders don't spin dreidels. Spiders spin webs." On the third night, Sammy once again warmed his feet above the menorah and watched as the Shapiros used the shamash to light 3 candles. They gave Josh a yellow dreidel. Now he had 3 dreidels to spin. The dreidels twisted and twirled across the floor until the red one dropped, then the blue, and at last the yellow. "Mother, could I have a yellow dreidel to spin?" Sammy asked at bedtime. "Silly little Sammy," she said. "Spiders don't spin dreidels. Spiders spin webs." Each night, Sammy watched from his warm perch above the shamash. On the 4th night, the Shapiros lit 4 candles and gave Josh a green dreidel. On the 5th night, they lit 5 candles and gave Josh a purple dreidel. On the 6th night, they lit 6 candles and gave Josh an orange dreidel. On the 7th night, they lit 7 candles and Josh got a rose-colored dreidel. Sammy had to raise himself a little higher on his web because his feet were getting hot. On the 8th night, Sammy felt sad as he watched the Shapiros light all 8 candles and give Josh a brown wooden dreidel. "I'm gonna miss Hanukkah," he thought. "I won't smell the delicious latkes. I won't hear any Hanukkah songs. I won't be able to watch Josh spin all his colorful dreidels. And how will I warm my feet? If only I could have just one dreidel, he thought, as the 8 dreidels danced merrily across the floor. What fun I would have! Then he remembered his mother's words. Spiders don't spin dreidels, Sammy. Spiders spin webs. But when the last candle flickered out and Sammy climbed reluctantly up the web to bed, his mother smiled, handed him a gift, and said, "Happy Hanukkah, Sammy." Sammy opened the package and found 8 little socks, one for each night of Hanukkah and one for each of his 8 little feet. Each sock was a different color, and on each one, Mrs. Spider had spun a little dreidel. Sammy pulled on his new socks. There was a blue one, a red one, a yellow one, a green one, a purple one, an orange one, a rose-colored one, and a brown one. He slid happily down a silky strand and began to spin faster and faster. "Look, Mother," he shouted, "I'm spinning my dreidels, all 8 of them."